Hey guys, what's going on? I'm just checking this out. It's been a while since we brought this board out, but I thought it'd be cool. I wanted to, if you only understood that I cannot get any of my work done until I get this work done first. All right. So, anyways, I thought that we would do Ruth. We haven't done Ruth. There's only a couple of books in the Bible that have this in them, has a woman in them. And the ladies in our book are generally talking about the spirit side of us, the spiritual side. Okay. This is the, in this, with this, the songs, the idea, the Psalms, what is that? The Song of Solomon. That's actually narrated by a female. If you ever call up any of these stories on the internet, they'll all have a lady's voice if they've done it correctly. But anyways, I thought that you and I would just go about this Ruth with blind eyes. I just want to do it, and I kind of listened to it, but I got the breadth of it all. But I thought that we would learn it ourselves. There's only 4 chapters in it. We'll do them one at a time. But, so look at that we have 4 chapters. 4 chapters is going to be that they've gone through some kind of a traveling situation. And so this first chapter should represent, the beginning, how things start out. That's in the beginning, how things start out. Yeah, that's how it works. And we'll just put an ear to it and an eye to it, and we'll discover this at the exact same times. Okay, so here. And again, this is in the King James Bible that we will be able to decipher the code, all right, and the numbers at the same time. Remember, this is the mind, this is the person, this is who the Father is, this is God, it's Pharaoh, it's the beginning, it's the mind, it's who you are, what you are, it's the intellect, it's our mind. The whole thing is our mind. Here we have our emotions. This is the place where we have our moon with rises and lowers along with water. All right, because the water is affected by the moon. The moon comes between us and God. It is a reflection of. It's a replacement or a reflection of this of the source, but it's not the source. And this is a physical side of us. This is the nations. This is the people. This is the gathering and the brethren. It's the skin. It's the vessel. It's us. It's what is lower, what is below. And this is the south. And over here is our spiritual mind. This is where when someone says that we are actually wired for religion, you'll have to say, no, we're wired for spiritualism, for the spirit side of us. We're wired for it. The religious side of us is here, and it is the moon, the reflection of the moon. This is where we get our the whore and the strange woman, and this is where we get mother, and mother becomes the dove, the Holy Spirit. So there's only 22 in the first part of Ruth. There's only 22, so we should be able to go through this fairly quickly. Each one of these is a line 1 through 6. So we're not getting 7. We're not getting, at this particular point, there's no 7. All right. We've only got these first 2 in the 6th movement. All right. 6 represents our works. This is the works. And it's either what we have to do before we can make it over to this other side, or it's where the vine has been cut on everyone. All right, and so it's not just the Jewish people; it's everyone. And so that means there's no Lord's Day here, and without no Lord's Day, there's no fixing with the number 8. By being nailed to something or fixed to something. And 9 means there's no brought up. You're not brought up to a higher conscious. None of those are represented in this first one. At least that's what we can see from the outside. All right. Remember, this is our bodies, 5. This is the body. And this is for travels, right? The worlds. That's what we are doing here. The worlds. It's basically traveling. This is generally the intervention. I don't know how to spell it. Intervention, and the intervention here either frees you or puts you in captivity. 2 is the image or God's creation. That would be you and me, and this would be generally a 2 is going to have to deal with the land on one side, which is our skin, and spirit. And so this is the God's creation, which is you and I. And so it's usually got the 2 in there. And of course, 1 is representing God. All right. Or the beginning. This is the idea that 1. This is 1 here. This is 2, our emotions. 3, our skin. 4, our spiritual side. So let's continue. All right. 1 through 4. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. That's number 1. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion. They are Ephrates. These are Ephrates from, oh my God, I just can't tell these names. These are all such and such and such from such and such. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. All right, so we're talking about 2. All of these names, if this is where they're talking about coming from, but we haven't pulled out any of those names. Damn it, I should go and find out who all these names are. But let me tell you this here. They're being mentioned in this particular place here. And so just like with Abram and Sarai, they are mentioned in this spot too. And that just means that they're without. But this is where you would get those. This is where the 2 come together. All right. As this Naomi's husbands died, this would be the 3. When her husband died, and she was left with just her 2 sons. And number 4, and they took them wives of the women of Moab, and named one of them was Oprah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. All right, one's going to be representing the outside person, the outside. This is just like when we have the 2 sons, we have Ishmael. All right, well let's do it. But let's do it this more. Jacob and Esau. Esau comes first, and then this other. So you would always see that these 2 are always being played. One is the flesh, and one is going to be the spirit. Just like with Cain and Abel. Cain is the flesh. Abel is the keeper of the sheep. All right, dweller in the tent. That's Jacob. All right, so a tent dweller. Esau is the red. And so anyways, where are we at? Oh, what I was talking about was we went through the first 4. There's a famine in the land. That's why there's no God from here. Famine means there's no God with them. So they're all on this side of being without God. That's what famine means. Famine in the land. There's no connection to God whatsoever. And regardless of what all these names mean, they are showing and pitting a right side against a left side. And in Jesus, we have John the Baptist being born first by Elizabeth. And then we have 6 months later, we have Jesus being born by Mary. All right. John the Baptist is the outside guy. Jesus is the inside guy. All right? That's just how it works. So let's go back to 5. We have Maloon and she and died. They died. And the woman was left with her 2 sons and a husband. All right. 5. 6. And such died, as also both of them, and the woman was left, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. So it's just the woman is left. And number 7, wherefore, wait, 4, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Then she arose. This would be where you would rise. 6. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Number 7. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. This is what you would want to do, land of Judah. This would be past this point, the Lord's day. It's kind of cool. And number 8, the end of this world. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dread, that ye have dealt with the dead and with me. So they're asking them to return back into their places. Very interesting, because when they got married, their husbands died. You have to understand that they took these mothers, these wives from the land like Moab, and both of them took them from this land. All right, which in the past, when we have the mothers and fathers, they said, we don't want you to take wives from the land here. Surely you shall die. That's the idea there. If you were to take this, and that's what happens with all of these stories, is that their wives bring them down to this lower place. This is the fallen angels, and how that because the mind falls in love with the female side, does this wind up being something that separates them from mother? And what comes between mother and them now is this strange woman, the female part of us, the wife that they take on from the land. And the land is at the lower side. So this is the fallen angels and the lowering of mankind, this is what separates us from God. Takes mother out of the picture. All right. So it's just interesting. All right. 8 is a control number. And so you will see that they are all in a place. You go here and you go there. We're in places where we really can't move or do anything. But one is representing the outside of us, and one of them is representing the inside of us. All right. So down here on 3, so that's what we're talking about here. And I did use the word lands and spirit. So here we go. On 3, the third world system here, the third ones should be about connecting up or going into captivity of some kind. Okay. And so we get 9, 10, 11, and 12. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. very interesting. The Lord grants you that you could find rest in each of your houses of your husband. It's pretty neat. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. Number 10, return with thee. And 11, this would be a, surely we'll return. Let's go on to 11. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are ye yet any more sons in my womb that may be your husband? Do you have any more something? Well, anyway, that's kind of cool. 12. Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons. That's kind of interesting things. You do understand that this, when it's coming from this woman and they're having, these energies, this idea right here is if they're like sitting around, they're waiting to have sons. And when we talk about God and Jesus being a begotten son, begotten means to be conjured up. It's like a conjuring of the mind. And in the stories, we find a virgin, a woman, and she's clothed with the moon, or she's standing on top of the moon, or the moon's at her feet. That's right. The moon could, because she's giving birth to this child, and everything has to go into second place. This place here, the moon is now shut off, but she has her child, and it gets past this devil, which would be your lower mind. If it makes it past it, in our realities, we find that this is what everyone sees in the sky. They found that, oh yeah, this is in the sky, but they don't go any further. The baby gets past this guy. They were all getting ready. It's like the devil is getting ready to eat the baby when it's born, but it makes it past it, and right into God's hands it goes. All right, so it's a good sign. But this is where we're talking about. We're talking this particular thing. This is womankind, and this is how things work with them. So let's go on a little further. There is no hooking up yet. So this is all, they're all waiting. They're all in a place. You go and you'll find some rest with your husband's homes and your husband's houses. So you see, because if you could just understand that they were the lower side, just go into your houses, into your husband's houses, and the houses is here, and you'll find rest there, because it's the grievous head wound, and when mother's not around, she's just sitting around waiting. Oh, you're going to have some more family, you're going to have some babies that are going to give us more husbands. So all of this is a contemplation. It's all waiting. They're waiting. They're going. That's pretty cool. All right. So let's go on to the fourth worlds. All right. 13, 14, 15, and 16. Would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would you stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. This is number 13. Number 14, the hand of my Lord has gone out against me. Number 14, which means the hand of the Lord, this hand of the Lord has gone out against it, means the right hand, this hand isn't working. The hand of my Lord is, am I getting that right? Number 13. All right. For it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. All right. Okay. Let's go on to number 14. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Oprah kissed her mother-in-law. But Ruth claved unto her. Remember, Ruth is that one that's the one that's made of God. Okay. Now, number 14. Did we get that right? Yeah. Number 15. And she said, behold, my sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. This is the physical side. She says, no, I bet she doesn't want to do it. Number 16. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodge, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. This is beautiful. This is 16 represents a 7. It's also in the physical, in this spiritual side. Ruth is representing the spiritual side, and she does not want to go to mother. She does not want to go. She doesn't want to follow her older sister with her. She doesn't want to go that route. Please let me stay with you. This is beautiful, because in these stories, you know, when a mother is talking to their sons, whether it be Jacob and whether it be Jacob, go up into the mountain. This is where I want you to find your wife. I want you to find it with their family. I want you to go and find, don't do it with the strangers. And that's where Esau is. Esau did it with the strangers. All right. So he's dead. Everybody's dead. When you go and get from the lower, you die. So that's why these women, these 2 girls, their husbands are dead too. But in reality, they're really alive, and these women are actually seeking rest in them, because there's nothing going on the right side of their brain, where they in the story of Solomon, the Song of Solomon is that she tells them, the story is about this girl and this guy, and they are the best of sources. They see each other in each other's dreams, but they just never hook up. And whenever he does, she comes chasing out after him, looking for him, finds him like passed out on the street, in the street. So that's the outside of us. She goes and finds him outside of us, and her and her daughters, the girls that work with her, not her daughters, but these other angels that work with her. And they call them like the daughters of Zion, but that's the inside. And then there's this other daughters. But anyways, do not wake him up. Do not do anything. It's him. He has to please. Do not stir him. Do not raise him up. It has to be his idea. It has to be his planning. All right. So that was number 16. And so in this way, what we found out is that there's nothing going on. He's got me locked down. And we also find the separation of the 2 is that this one sister went to go with her gods and her people and her group. That's the outside world. But Ruth clings to the mother. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. All right. She's holding on to the mountain. This is where she's going to hang out. All right. So this would be like the story of Rebecca, right? This would be the story of Sarai before. All right. She's going to hold on to him. But let's see. Let's go on. We're going on to body. The 5th part of this is about the body, the brethren, the vessel. Let's see what it says about this. And that's going to be 17, 18, 19, and 20. It goes like this. Where thou diest, I will die, and where I will be buried. The Lord do so unto me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. God, that is so hard to read. Where thou diest, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. Number 17 is really great. This is a number 8 in reality. So the body is locked in this death situation, whereas if you be dead, I'll be dead too. This is where that's gone. That's what happens. That's what black represents. Black is the darkness, the night, the dark, the death. You're supposed to choose the light over this. Even if this says sun, this just means out in the open. That's what this outside, out and everything. Number 18, we get when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. This is number 18. Because she's sticking to her. I ain't going nowheres. 19. So the two, which is pretty cool. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? Now, this is the nations. This is the people. This is the city of David. This is the body. All right. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. So they come to the city of Bethlehem, and people were moved. Is this Naomi? It's like, wow. And 20 over here is representing, the body. Number 2, just a number 2, 20. All right. And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. This is number 20. This is this idea that, she's barren, and all her children. Do you remember? This is like with Jesus, when don't call me this, because God has built very bitterly with me. It is the same thing. That's the same damn thing that we hear in the Christ story. All right. It's just funny. It's just don't call me Naomi. All right. I love it. All right. And we only have 2 more left. So this is the body. So he dealt very bitterly with me. And to tell you the truth, I'm thinking that this is because right now everybody's dead around her. All right. And we have 6. We only have 2 more left. All right. Which is going to be a 3 and a 4 on the 6th line. It's really beautiful. But number 21, hope to tell the story. So it says, number 21, I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? All right. So this is not getting anywhere. 21, this 3 becomes captive. All right. God has dealt bitterly with her. All right. And number 22. So Naomi returned, and Ruth, the Moabites, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. This is pretty cool. I'm thinking that barley is where, whenever they're separating things, they have to, this idea of barley. Let's go back up. Finish this up. Isn't that what it is when they separating the wheat from the chaff? So this is what the women do, and they just beat these things, and they're the ones that separate it. So you can see that this is representing what the female sides would be doing inside our brains, because this is the separation to separate us is with the sword, and that's what we've already died by the sword. All right. And now we want to live by the sword by cutting in and breaking bread, let the guy out to do his business. You'll see that that's separating the bad, the chaff, from the good stuff, what's inside, that part. So this is what it means. So maybe we're getting ready to do something like that, but it's told us the story. It's telling us a story right now that she, the big mama out there has two sons, and one of them, like Canaan, they have gone to the lower side. They both taken on wives, her sons, and they both died by taking on these two things. But they don't tell you that. But they're going to have to do some separating, because she came whole and now she is empty. And so this is telling out these wonderful stories of the Bible where we actually do not have her, but she sits around and waits. And that's what we're all finding out in this first part of the story. It's very interesting. Hope you got something out of this. We're doing this blind because what the hell? This is how I work. I read it and then I see it and then I get ideas. Plus we have to follow a particular mode. There's a code. There is something that helps guide me, because we have to do this first, that first, and this thing, that thing. It has to follow an order. All right, so that's it for this one. I'm going to upload it, and I'll get back to the second one.